You don't deserve those kids. My sister Vanessa screamed those words at me in front of my 7-year-old daughter, and 3 days later, 2 Child Protective Services officers were standing on my doorstep. But what Vanessa didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had been quietly collecting evidence for 11 months. And when the judge finally looked up from her paperwork and asked my sister one simple question, the entire courtroom went silent. Before I tell you how it all unraveled, take a moment to subscribe and comment below where you're watching from. This story might just change how you see family, betrayal, and the lengths a mother will go to protect her children. My name is Melissa Turner. I'm 34 years old, and I live in a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee, with my 2 children, Emma, who just turned 8, and Lucas, who's 5. For the past 3 years, I've been raising them alone in a 2-bedroom apartment that smells like lavender and pancake batter on Sunday mornings. It's not much, but it's ours. Every crayon drawing on the refrigerator, every scuffed corner of the hallway where Lucas rides his tricycle, it's all filled with love. My husband Derek left us when Lucas was only 2. He said he wasn't ready for the responsibility. That's what he told me as he packed his bags and moved to California with a woman he met online. He sends a check once every few months, when he remembers. Most of the time, I don't count on it. I work 2 jobs, mornings at the elementary school as a teacher's aide, and evenings at a small bakery downtown. My hands are always tired, my feet always ache, but every night when I tuck my kids into bed, I know it's worth it. Vanessa, my older sister by 4 years, never approved of my life. She married well, a real estate developer named Gregory who bought her a 5-bedroom house with a pool in the suburbs of Atlanta. She drives a white Mercedes, wears designer clothes, and posts pictures of her perfect life on social media every single day. Her 2 children, Brandon and Olivia, attend private school and take violin lessons. On the surface, Vanessa has everything. But underneath all that polish, my sister has always been hollow. Growing up, Vanessa was our mother's favorite. She was the pretty one, the smart one, the one who would make something of herself. I was the afterthought, the quiet girl who liked to read books in the corner and bake cookies with our grandmother. When Grandma Eleanor passed away and left me her antique jewelry collection instead of Vanessa, something cracked inside my sister. She never forgave me. And when I married Derek, who, at the time, was a promising young architect, Vanessa's jealousy only grew. It didn't matter that my marriage fell apart. It didn't matter that I struggled. What mattered to Vanessa was that I had been chosen over her, even once, and she never forgot it. The trouble started last Thanksgiving. I had driven 4 hours to Atlanta with Emma and Lucas to spend the holiday with my family. My mother, Patricia, had invited everyone, Vanessa's family, my Uncle Robert, a few cousins. The house smelled like roasted turkey and cinnamon candles. For a moment, I let myself believe it would be a good day. It wasn't. During dinner, Emma accidentally knocked over a glass of cranberry juice. It splashed across the white tablecloth and dripped onto Vanessa's designer handbag sitting on the floor nearby. The bag probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. Vanessa's face twisted. "Are you serious right now?" she snapped, grabbing her bag. "I'm sorry, Aunt Vanessa," Emma whispered, her little eyes filling with tears. "Sorry doesn't fix a $2,000 bag." Vanessa glared at me. "Can't you control your children, Melissa? This is exactly why I didn't want them here." The table went quiet. My mother looked down at her plate. No one defended me. No one defended my daughter. I stood up slowly, my hands shaking. "Emma, Lucas, get your coats. We're leaving." Vanessa laughed coldly. "Running away? Typical. You've always been weak, Melissa. That's why Derek left you. That's why you're living in that pathetic little apartment. You're a terrible mother, and everyone knows it." I felt like I'd been slapped. But I didn't cry. I took my children's hands and walked out the door without looking back. The 4-hour drive home was silent except for Lucas asking, "Mommy, why was Aunt Vanessa so mean?" I didn't have an answer. 3 days later, I received a call from Child Protective Services. A woman named Mrs. Patterson informed me that an anonymous complaint had been filed against me. The allegations were horrifying: neglect, unsafe living conditions, emotional abuse. I was told that an investigation would be opened and that caseworkers would be visiting my home within the week. My blood ran cold. I knew immediately who had made that call. Vanessa. For the next 2 weeks, I lived in a state of constant terror. Every knock on the door made my heart stop. Every phone call felt like a death sentence. The caseworkers came twice. They inspected my apartment, interviewed Emma and Lucas separately, and reviewed my financial records. I showed them everything: the kids' school reports, their medical records, photos of birthday parties and family outings. I had nothing to hide. After their second visit, Mrs. Patterson sat down with me at my kitchen table. Her face was kind but cautious. "Mrs. Turner, I want to be honest with you," she said. "The allegations don't match what we're seeing here. Your children are healthy, happy, and clearly loved. However, because of the nature of the complaint, we're required to complete a full investigation. It could take several months. Months? I whispered. She nodded. I'm sorry. But I promise you, we're just doing our jobs. If everything checks out, and so far, it has, this will all be dismissed. Those months were the hardest of my life. I couldn't sleep. I lost weight. Every time Emma or Lucas had a bruise from playing at the park, I documented it with photos and notes, terrified that someone would twist it into something sinister. I started recording conversations with my family, my mother, my uncle, anyone who might be feeding information to Vanessa. I didn't trust anyone anymore. And then, something unexpected happened. My mother called me one evening in February. Her voice was shaky, different from her usual cold detachment. Melissa, she said, I need to tell you something about your sister. I almost hung up. I was so tired of the drama, so exhausted from fighting. But something in her voice made me listen. Vanessa has been lying, my mother continued. About a lot of things. Gregory's business is failing. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. She's been borrowing money from everyone, your uncle, your cousins, even me. She told me not to say anything, but I can't stay quiet anymore. I gripped the phone tighter. Why are you telling me this now? There was a long pause. Because last week, Vanessa asked me to testify against you. She wants me to tell the court that I've seen you hit your children. My mother's voice cracked. Melissa, I've never seen you lay a hand on those kids. Never. And I can't do that. I won't. For the first time in years, I heard my mother cry. She's jealous of you, she continued. She always has been. You got Grandma's jewelry. You married the man she wanted. And now, even though your life is hard, your children love you in a way hers never will. Vanessa can't stand it. I didn't know what to say. Years of resentment, years of feeling invisible, all crumbled in that moment. My mother wasn't perfect. She had failed me in so many ways. But this was her finally choosing me. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for telling me. A week later, I received a court summons. Vanessa had escalated things. She was now seeking emergency custody of my children, claiming that I was unfit and that she and Gregory could provide a stable, loving home. The hearing was scheduled for March 15th. I hired a lawyer, a woman named Diana Cortez who had been recommended by a friend at the bakery. She was fierce, no nonsense, and refused to let me pay full price after hearing my story. Melissa, I've seen cases like this before, Diana told me during our first meeting. Wealthy family members trying to weaponize the system against struggling single mothers. It happens more than people realize. But here's the good news, the truth is on your side. We just need to prove it. For the next month, we built our case. Diana subpoenaed financial records showing Vanessa's debt, over $400,000 owed to various creditors. She obtained statements from Emma's teachers praising my involvement in her education. She gathered character witnesses, my neighbors, my coworkers at the bakery, even the caseworker who had initially investigated me. But the most powerful piece of evidence came from an unexpected source. 2 days before the hearing, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. It was a video. I pressed play, and my jaw dropped. The video showed Vanessa at a dinner party, wine glass in hand, laughing with her friends. One of them asked, "So how's the whole custody thing going?" Vanessa smirked. "Oh, it's perfect. That idiot sister of mine doesn't stand a chance. I've got my mother ready to lie on the stand, and the CPS report is damaging enough. By the time I'm done, I'll have those kids and whatever's left of Grandma's jewelry." Another woman laughed. "You're evil, Vanessa." "I'm strategic," she corrected, raising her glass. Melissa had her chance to be somebody. Now it's my turn to take what's mine. The video was sent anonymously, but I later learned it came from one of Vanessa's so-called friends, a woman named Danielle who had grown disgusted by my sister's behavior. Danielle had secretly recorded the conversation and couldn't live with herself knowing what Vanessa was planning. The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom was small and cold, filled with fluorescent lighting and the faint smell of old paper. Vanessa sat at one table with her expensive lawyer, dressed in a navy blue suit that probably cost more than my car. Gregory sat behind her, stone-faced. I sat at the other table with Diana, wearing a simple gray dress I'd borrowed from a friend. Behind me sat my mother, who had driven 4 hours to be there, along with my coworkers from the bakery and several of my neighbors. Emma and Lucas were with a trusted friend. I didn't want them anywhere near this circus. Judge Catherine Monroe presided over the case. She was in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun and reading glasses perched on her nose. She had a reputation for being fair but ruthless when it came to people who wasted her time. The hearing began with Vanessa's lawyer presenting the allegations: neglect, unsafe conditions, emotional harm. He painted a picture of a struggling single mother who couldn't provide for her children. He referenced the CPS complaint and produced doctored photos of my apartment that made it look cluttered and dirty. Then it was Diana's turn. She stood up calmly and approached the bench. Your Honor, before I present our evidence, I'd like to submit a video recording that was provided to my client 2 days ago. Vanessa's lawyer objected, but Judge Monroe allowed it. The courtroom watched in silence as the video played on a small screen. Vanessa's smirking face filled the frame. Her words echoed through the room, "That idiot sister of mine doesn't stand a chance. I'll have those kids and whatever's left of Grandma's jewelry." When the video ended, Vanessa's face was white as paper. Gregory looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Judge Monroe removed her glasses and looked directly at Vanessa. Her voice was calm but sharp as a blade. "Mrs. Harrington, do you know what perjury means?" Vanessa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "Perjury," the judge continued, "is the act of lying under oath. It is a criminal offense. And based on what I've just seen and heard, I have serious concerns about the credibility of every single claim you've made in this courtroom." Diana then presented our evidence, the financial records showing Vanessa's crushing debt, the statements from Emma's teachers, the glowing reviews from the CPS caseworkers, and the testimony of my neighbors and co-workers. One by one, every allegation was dismantled. Then my mother took the stand. She looked small and frail, nothing like the cold woman who had ignored me for years. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Your Honor, I'm ashamed to admit that my older daughter asked me to lie today. She wanted me to say that I'd seen Melissa hurt her children." Tears streamed down her face. "But that's not true. I've never seen Melissa be anything but a loving, devoted mother. And I haven't been a good mother myself. But I'm trying to make it right." She looked at me from the witness stand. "Melissa, I'm so sorry. For everything." I couldn't stop my own tears. Judge Monroe called a brief recess. When we returned, she delivered her ruling. "After reviewing all evidence and testimony, I find no credible basis for the allegations against Mrs. Melissa Turner. The petition for emergency custody is denied. Furthermore, I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's office for investigation into potential perjury and filing of false reports." She turned to Vanessa. "Mrs. Harrington, I strongly suggest you retain a good criminal defense attorney. You're going to need one." Vanessa burst into tears. Gregory stormed out of the courtroom without looking back. I sat there in shock, Diana's hand on my shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "It's over." But it wasn't just over. It was the beginning of something new. In the months that followed, Vanessa was charged with filing a false CPS report, a misdemeanor in Tennessee that carried up to a year in jail. She ultimately pleaded guilty and received probation, community service, and mandatory counseling. Gregory filed for divorce shortly after. Apparently, he hadn't known about the extent of her debts or her scheme against me. My mother and I started talking more. It's not perfect, 40 years of distance doesn't heal overnight. But she calls every Sunday now, asks about Emma and Lucas, and even drove up for Emma's 8th birthday party. She brought a cake she'd baked herself. It was lopsided and too sweet, but Emma said it was the best cake she'd ever had. As for me, I'm still working 2 jobs. I'm still tired. But I wake up every morning knowing that my children are safe, loved, and exactly where they belong, with me. Last month, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Danielle, the woman who sent me the video. She apologized for not speaking up sooner and said she hoped I could forgive her for being part of Vanessa's circle for so long. I wrote her back and thanked her. Without her courage, I might have lost everything. Sometimes, the people who save us aren't the ones we expect. Sometimes, betrayal comes from blood and rescue comes from strangers. And sometimes, the strongest thing a mother can do is refuse to break. I shared my story online a few weeks ago. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of mothers reached out to say they'd been through something similar, family members trying to take their children out of jealousy, spite, or greed. The system doesn't always protect us, but together, we protect each other. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like mine, please know, you are not alone. Document everything. Save every message. Trust your instincts. And never, ever let anyone make you believe you're less than the incredible mother you are. Last night, I tucked Emma and Lucas into bed. Emma looked up at me with her big brown eyes and said, "Mommy, I'm glad you're my mom." Lucas nodded sleepily. "Me too. You're the best mom in the whole world." I kissed their foreheads and whispered, "And you're the best things that ever happened to me." As I turned off the light and closed the door, I stood in the hallway for a moment, listening to their soft breathing. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside. I thought about everything I'd been through, the humiliation, the fear, the sleepless nights. I thought about Vanessa's cruel words, "You're a terrible mother." And for the first time, I smiled. Because the judge hadn't just asked my sister one question. She had shown everyone, what happens when lies meet truth. Vanessa wanted to take my children. Instead, she lost everything. And I gain something far more precious than jewelry or money or status. I gain the knowledge that I am enough. That my love is enough. That no matter what anyone says or does, my children know who their mother is. And that's something no one can ever take away. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more true stories like this one. And comment below where you rewatching from. I'd love to know how far this message of hope can reach. Remember, when life tries to break you, stand tall. When family betrays you, build your own. And when someone calls you a terrible mother, let your children be the proof that silences every lie. This is Melissa Turner. And this is my truth.